This is The Late Show with Flynn. I am your host, Flynn, and I am here with Jess, Jessica, Jess in the studio, Jess the artist and the painter. Jessica, how are you?
Thank you. I'm doing good today. How are you?
That is good. I'm doing very well. It's been school has started, so my whole mind is kind of focused on so many different things at once, and it's weird because I feel like this is a good place to be with my mind scattered, but at the same time it's kind of stressful, but I like it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's always, chaotic is always, a double-edged sword, because you can find really creative times with that, but then also it's like overwhelming.
It is overwhelming. Yeah. And I feel like if you stay there for too long, you can get really bogged down and stressed and
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
But enough about me. So obviously I know that you're a painter, but when did you start painting?
So if we're talking like way back, I used to always just like paint in like middle school or high school, just as like for fun, and then I was always really into art. So I, took art classes in high school pretty seriously, and my teacher noticed that, and she kind of like took me under her wing, and she pushed me harder than I ever even thought I could go with it. And I remember she was like, okay, you need to paint a face. And I was like, you are kidding me right now. Like there's no way. And she was like, no, you can do it. You have to do it. You have to do it. And like, we were like arguing. I was like, I can't paint a face. Are you serious? And so she's like, you're doing it. And I was like, okay. And I did it. And I was like, really surprised myself. And that was the first time I ever, was like, maybe I can do this more. So I kind of experimented with that through the end of high school and into college and stuff. So
you would say high school is when you really started to take your craft seriously?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I was like, I think I'm good at this. So I just want to like see what is possible for me, I guess. And then I worked myself really hard with art in high school, so much so that I got burnt out and honestly didn't pick up a pencil or a paintbrush to do any art until like end of sophomore year in college. And I was like, maybe I'll dabble in this again. And then since then I haven't stopped, and I love it so much.
Whoa. See, that's interesting to hear, because I feel like that story is a story that I've heard so many times. Like as far as people doing something when they're younger and they love it, and then they stop, and then they wonder why they're not happy when they hit college and years after college. So what made you pick painting back up?
Really, I honestly didn't really even want to, but I had a friend, and he knew from high school, I guess, that I could paint people, and he was like, I'm dying to have a painting of Uma Thurman from Pulp Fiction. And I was like, okay, like and then he was like, no, I'll pay you like $80 for like a painting. And I was like, $80, okay. And so I was like, I guess I'll try, like, whatever. And so I did it, and I surprised myself, because I thought I was so burnt out and that I wouldn't, I just like didn't really see art in my future after high school, like at all. And then once I started that, I was like, wait, this is pretty fun. And I felt like this weird high from it that I don't remember. I think it was because it was like, not that it was on my own terms, but like I didn't have like, you're going to be graded on this or like whatever coming after me. So, yeah.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Honestly, you talked a little bit about, it's interesting that you say a high, because as an artist, like I've experienced that too. Like when you get into that flow state and you're almost, it's like you're you, but you're not you, and you're like you're so focused and you're so in the moment, it consumes you. How how would you describe that experience to someone who's never experienced that?
I mean, I like that is truly a feeling I can't even like fathom that it's real. Like, it's the closest thing to magic.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like that, that's on Earth. Like that, I feel like. I don't know what I'm saying, but
no, you're making a good point. You're making a good point.
Like, it feels magical, and you're like, whoa, like I'm really tranced in right now, and I don't know, it's like a high that you can't get from drugs or anything else. You're just like, you're so in. Not that you're like into yourself, but like, you know what I mean? You're like, wow, like how is my hand like moving and doing this art? Like, how's my mind taking over like this? Like, I don't know. It's super cool. Yeah. It's just kind of like your brain is throwing up onto a canvas from the painter's perspective. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
I've never heard someone put it that way. But
yeah.
I love it. I kind of feel like that when I write a song. I don't know if I would say I throw up the words on the page, but I would say that it's trance-like. Like, trance is a very good word, because
it is.
Hours go. I don't know if you feel like this, but when I write songs, sometimes it feels like hours go by and there's not enough time in my day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my God. That's for sure. Like, same, because I start like feeling a little tingle of creativity usually towards like nighttime, like after 9 or 10 p.m. and I'm like, okay, this is like where I get to start, and I'll just start painting, and then I look and it's 4 a.m. and I'm like, what just happened? It's so weird.
Lose track of time very, very quickly when you're in that state. But I feel like when you're in that state also, it's not necessarily that you lose track of time. It's more like there is no time.
Yeah, like you literally couldn't care less. Like, that time exists.
Right. And that's...
yeah.
It's funny because in the world of responsibilities and you know how we live in the United States, where everything is kind of on time and on a schedule, and you have to do this at this time and this at that time. And to be in a state of really timelessness in that, I guess, in our culture, is a very rare thing.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
And when you apply that to like an artist, especially a young artist, it's not always, I guess I'll use the word feasible. Like, it's not always like, reasonable and like something that you can get to consistently without feeling like you're losing yourself in other areas.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've experienced that, like, at base. Is that the right, whatever. But, so I graduated, in May 2020. And then I was like, I told my parents, like, I'm going to move back home and like try to have my own little art career for 6 months and see what I can do and see where it goes. And I mean, I had no idea what was coming for me. Like, in a bad way, because I was like, oh, there'll be a lot of freedom and like I won't be on a schedule, blah, blah, blah. I like stressed myself out thinking about like schedules and like, or not being on one so much that like I was not productive at all. Like but then I like fear schedules as well. So I'm like, you know what I mean? And now I'm working full time and on a very rigid schedule, and like I feel better physically, but then I'm like, oh, now I don't have like this time for creativity. So it's so hard. I mean, like, I don't know how to balance that.
It's a weird little paradox.
Yeah.
I've experienced that too, because now I'm on my last semester. I only have 2 classes. So I have more time. On paper, I have more time, but during the day, it seems like I have even less time, because there's so much to do. There's so much I could do. There's so many things that are small tasks that you want to finish early, so you have more time for, the more creative stuff that you can devote your full attention to. But once you do that, or once you get to that point in the day, you're tired and you don't want to do it. So it's a very...
You said that so like the part that you said about the things that you could be doing in that moment, that's where I just like mentally like freeze up, because I'm like, oh my god, I could be doing this and this and this and this and this, so let's just not do any of it. You know what I mean? It's like so overwhelming because you have so much time, but then you just, I don't know. At least that's how my brain works.
It's funny because the more time, when I'm in that state of mind, it's like the more time I have, the less time I actually have, because I spend so much time thinking about all the time I don't have, and then I don't have any time.
I know. I'm like, why?
It's
why are brains like this?
Self-fulfilling prophecy, which is wild. So you talked a little bit about like going on your own after school. You said for 6 months, right?
Yeah, for 6 months.
6 months devoting fully to your craft, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's at least what I thought I would be doing, which I did. Like, my friend, like, she built a website for me in exchange for a painting, and then I worked on that a little bit, and we planned that, and there's just so many, like, little details that go into, like, having a quote-unquote art career that, like, you don't think about, and, like, I'm still trying to figure out social media. Like, I am so bad at it, and, like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's all this stuff, but yeah, I, like, kind of barely scraped by, like, money-wise. I mean, I lived in my parents' house, so I was super grateful for that, but, like, money-wise, otherwise, just, like, painting commissions here and there, and that kind of held me over a little bit. But yeah, it's not something that you can just be like, all right, like, or at least not for me. It's not something I can be like, okay, here's a few months, like, then I'll, like, be a successful, like, full-time artist. Like, I think for me, at least, it's gonna take me years to really, like, define that.
So when we first met, we talked a little bit about, and we met at an art show for everyone who's listening or watching. And it was your first art show. Yeah. And what I remember is you being very nervous. Am I correct?
Yeah.
You were very nervous, and I was shocked to see you nervous, because, like, your work is amazing, and you already know how I feel about your work. And honestly, I wasn't the only one, and I'm not the only one who thinks this way about your work. So, like, your work is amazing. Let's get that out the way.
That's super sweet.
It's true, though. It's true. So we talked a little bit about, like, the artist path and how each path is a unique path, and we often fall into the trap of the struggling artist path, because that's, like, the main path that is shown and almost encouraged. If you divert from the typical 9-to-5 path, the only other option is you end up in jail somewhere, you're selling drugs, or you're a struggling artist. So I do remember that conversation, and we talked about how it doesn't have to be like that, and every path is a unique path, especially when you're an artist, because art is unique to the individual, and it stems from who you are. So, of course, like, your path is going to be a unique path. But generally speaking, I do think, me personally, that there isn't too much taught in school about the artist path and the artist journey, and, like, what to make of it, and how to, you know, like, really be your own boss as an artist, and how to sell your art, and how to, like, merge business and art together.
Nothing. Maybe, but there's nothing that I've experienced. Like, I came out of it and I was like, wait, I should have been studying business. Like, what? Like, you know?
So what was your major in school?
It was actually math, and then I had an art minor.
Ew, math. Ew.
Yeah, terrible. Don't ever do it. Everybody never do it, okay? Nothing came from math. Like, what can you do with that? Still don't know. But, I fully regret not, like, even though business is, like, you know, everyone wants to take business, whatever, but, like, business and art together, like, I think like business art or something should be a major.
Wow, like together.
Yeah.
Look, what would that entail?
Just, I mean, I feel like, I think about this a lot now. I'm like, oh, if I could like run a college or something, this is what I would do. But I don't know, like, you know how when you have, for people who like been or go to college, you have, you know, your major, and then you take a class that like, you know, sort of pertains to it, and like possibly what you would want to do in this category, or like, and then a class on this. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense, but basically like you would do the art classes, but you would also be like, okay, if you want to like sell little products with your art, here's like art product class or something, or art product business or something like that. Or if you want to like learn how to be in galleries, here, take this like how to be in galleries class. Like, you know what I mean? Wouldn't that be cool?
Right. You make a good point. Like, what comes to my mind is, like, I saw you at an art show, and the thing about art shows a lot of the time is you got to be able to sell yourself and your work. And
yeah,
I'm not the best at selling myself or my work. You know, I'm in the mindset of this is what I bring to the table, and versus this is what I bring to the table, and you should buy it because blah 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 blah, and this will look good on you. And like, I'm not I'm not that type of person. Like, I'm more so like a entertainer, so like I don't really, you know, like I don't sell myself. I just focus more on my craft. So kind
of like, I mean, and I don't know if people would want that, but like a sales class,
right?
So like, you know, like, I don't know.
Right, like a sales class, but you're selling yourself and your work.
Yeah, exactly.
That's perfect. I'm ready to invest.
Yeah.
I'm ready to invest. Let me know. I'm ready to invest.
Okay, sure. I'll just create a college program outline. I don't know how people like go about doing things like that, but
I know.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm sure a lot of other artists like in similar situations feel the same way, like, because there's so many books that I've discovered now that are like titled something along the lines of what you didn't learn in art school.
Right.
And it's like, okay, like there's a problem here.
So what would you recommend to maybe your younger self or someone who was in similar shoes that you were in when you were younger? Younger being like in college, younger.
Right. I actually had somebody reach out to me recently, and I think she was either like a freshman or sophomore in college, and she was like, oh, I like see that you know, I think somebody I knew told her that like my situation, that I wanted to be an artist, but I like was a math major and I wish I could go back or something. And she was like, what would you do? Like, what are your tips? And I just basically explained what I just said. Like, I wish I could go back and like realize that math is not going to do anything for me if I truly want to be an artist. And then like, I need to know business classes, and like how to sell myself. And if there's anything out there on how to sell your artwork, like take that. I mean, like, but I don't even know if that exists. So, and also like, I mean, maybe I'm forgetting what the question is now, but like, I wish I researched, I don't know, the art game, but like, it's super hard to like, I still feel like I'm lost in like the art community. I'm like, how do these people like do it and make it as an artist? Like, it's so hard.
Right. Do you feel like you're like an outlier in the community?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't even know, like, am I in the community? Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
did you get your certification and you got your card?
Like, how do you know when you're in? I don't know. Like, it's so weird. It's super hard. It feels like a figment of my imagination.
I hear that. Is it like, you know, because I feel like sometimes the artist journey is such a unique journey that from the way we grew up and how we were conditioned to think, it's, you know, it's this one way. And even the artist mind is not, you know, like the logical mind, you know, it's not
Yeah.
This is how we do things, this is how we move, this is the next step, this is the next step. Like the artist journey is kind of like very, very free flowing.
Yeah, there's not like one. That is why it's so hard too. And I'm like complaining, but that really is why it's so hard, because it's like there is not one single situation that's gonna like be the way on how you make it.
And there's also, what is the next step?
Exactly. It's like there's no like, printed out outline that you can be like, okay, let me follow these steps, and then it's like you literally have to trial and error.
Right.
Forever.
Right. No, I agree with that 100%. Because that's exactly what I'm doing. Like, I tell myself, just create. Like, don't worry about your reception right now. Don't worry about attention. Don't worry about likes or anything like that. Just create, share, create. Which leads me to my next question.
Okay.
How we talked about the business side of things and how someone could, like bolster up their knowledge and be better prepared on the business aspect. But what about the artistic aspect? How does someone become a better artist?
I mean, I don't know how true this thing is, but I mean, people always talk about you're an expert if you've spent 10,000 hours in your craft.
Sheesh.
And it's like, also, like, how do you measure that, first of all? And second of all, I don't necessarily think that's true. I mean, I like the idea behind it, as in, like, you just, like, keep going. Like, even if you make something you hate, you have to do more art, do more this, do more that. And you're gonna, like, work out almost every kink possible at some point if you spend enough time doing it. You see what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, as much as, like, I don't know, this kind of reminds me of, when I was in college, I had this art professor, a painting professor, and he was super, like, wild, crazy guy. Like, I don't even know how to describe him, but he was very blunt too, and he would give us like a prompt, and we would, create our idea, and he was like, you have to sketch and paint this idea like literally like 20 or 30 times before you create the final product. And I hated it because I like to do something once and never look at it again. And he was like, you have to do it 30 times before I approve of it or something. And I hated it. But I think it's way over, like, I think that's way overdoing it, at least for me. But I see, like, why he said that, just because, like, you have to see it from all different angles, and, like, you'll figure out the truth behind what you're trying to show or something if you do it so many times. I don't know.
Right. That makes sense. It's about practicing and really working out, like you said, working out the kinks. And it's funny that you say that, because there's some things that I've just started, like this show, where the first go around was okay, and I had to really work with the idea, and really, it was more so, how do I say this? So people like saying that they're a perfectionist, and I used to think I was a perfectionist too, but I've gotten into the habit of really just starting something and then seeing where it goes, versus trying to get all the details first and making sure that one outing is like a perfect outing. Yeah. Because that is like hardly ever. For me, it's hardly ever. Like, the first song is not the best song. The first show is not the best show. The first picture is not always the best picture. Like, things like that. So, like, I've gotten into a habit of going with an idea and seeing how it creates itself.
See, I love that, because, I mean, I'm, like, obsessed with podcasts now and stuff, and I listen to, like, I don't know. I feel like every quote-unquote successful person, their mantra is, like, they're like, just start sloppy. Don't even think about the details. Like, you're not gonna get to the perfect place that you want to be unless you, like, don't just start. Like, you have to, like, what is it called? Fail forward.
I love that.
Because you're not gonna like, I mean, who has ever like created something perfect their first time they've ever done something?
Right.
You just have to like brace yourself for the beginning sloppiness, and then you'll perfect it, and then it'll be good.
Yeah, I think the thing too is we live with a lot of, or at least I see and experience a lot of like perfectionists and people who want to get things right and they have a perfect vision for something. But I think sometimes we forget that in order to get to that vision, we have to fail forward. So I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that.
It's not my words, just what I've heard. So pretty much all those ideas, like I've heard. It's like the successful people say them. So I'm like, think like them. Maybe I'll end up somewhere one day. But
nah, you definitely will. You definitely will.
You're so nice. Like, you're too confident in me.
Nah, don't. No, I mean, I think the thing is too is, I say this all the time, but game recognize game. Like when you're talented and you're confident and you know what looks good, you see it in other people. And I think part of what we would call the artist community has to do that because, they want people in the artist field to compete as if it was a business. Like as if like the common denominator is money and you got to run your opponent out of town, which is not the case because we're on a different, we have a different purpose. Like we have different rules. We're not competing to end our competition. We're creating to enrich the world, and there's a huge difference in that.
Yeah, that's a really like wonderful idea, or thing that you said, because I mean, like you're saying, like products from companies oftentimes like they're trying to, this one's trying to be more efficient, this one's trying to be this, trying to get to the best possible product for whatever it is. But artists we have such an abundant, like we can have such an abundance mindset because the more what we create, the better. Not like, I don't know, I feel like I'm being tongue-tied right now. We're not trying to refine anything. We're just trying to create more. Right.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So basically what you were just saying, but whatever.
That is exactly right. It's interesting because even me saying all this, like in 5 minutes, like after this conversation, I'm gonna be back in the same mindset of, well, I gotta do this because this, and then what if this doesn't, it's the conditioning, and that conditioning is so deep sometimes that you don't even know you're in it because it's that deep.
Of course.
Like my mom always talks to me about my plan after school and what that looks like and what that is, because she's like very practical, and I'm practical too, but I'm more so what people would call free-spirited.
Yeah.
Like I believe if I take care of myself now and I'm doing what I need to do now, my future will be what it needs to be and I'll be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But not everybody works like that. Like some people need a plan and like to execute their plan, and then there's like that sense of security, and I have that sense of security because I believe in myself and I believe in my ability to create what I want and get what I want. And not everybody has that, and I didn't always have that, which I would say for a lot of artists would lead them to like a very predictable life.
Yeah.
Because they take the easy way, they take the 9 to 5 and they're like, okay, well, I can't pursue my music career because like I have kids, or I can't continue to paint because I need to get these bills paid, or I can't do this because of that. I can't do this because of this very practical, reasonable reality reason. Which leads me to my next question. Like I know you said you started a full-time job. How do you balance your work life, for full-time job work life, with the need to continue to create and build your art and make your art work for you?
So, Okay, so I mean, I don't know how much I'll grow in my productivity in my art, because I've only started this job a month, so I've been in it a month. But I do have to say it's not much different than beforehand, since I was always so stressed out about time and had all the time in the world. I pretty much wasted almost the same amount of time like during the day doing nothing than I do while I'm, making money right now at work, in order to pay, student loans. That's basically like why I was cornered into having to get a job. But so I mean, I'm supporting myself with that job, doing that, and honestly, like, being on a schedule, at least for now, is like making my mind feel clearer. And so I'm at work all day, but I constantly have a notebook with me, so I'm writing down ideas. If one pops in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I can paint that. Let me write this down. Let me like make a checklist that I can do when I get home, so that I will, make my art career easier. And I want to start. I mean, I've been painting after work lots of the days, but I want like most of my days to have like a good, like, at least hour or two to paint after work, and like be disciplined in that. Because I have a lot of great ideas and I just haven't gotten to them. And I don't know. I think being on a schedule has helped my mental health a lot, and has made me not more productive with my art, but like the same amount, and I can support myself. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Like, I feel like I'm still doing the same amount of art now as I was before. So,
which is not bad. That's not bad, since you picked up a full-time job. So
right, and I'm hoping eventually I won't have to work the full-time job, but like that it will condition me to like learn how to be scheduled. And so eventually, if I can get out of being in my full-time job, I can take that like scheduled mindset and put it towards myself and my art and stick to that. Does that make sense? Like, right, like, be more, like, apply the same discipline to your work personally. Yes, exactly. And like have my days, instead of, being at the office or whatever, then I can spend my whole days painting and not feel like super stressed out that I'm not on a schedule or like need to do this and that, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. That's my hope. I don't know if I'll get there, but
no. See, I can't tolerate you doubting yourself. I can't do it.
I appreciate it. It's like I believe in my talent, but I much less so believe in my ability to be determined or to be like disciplined, I guess. Like that's the part that I feel like I fall short on. Like I cannot discipline myself by myself to save my life. And that's kind of like another conversation that I was thinking about the other day. Like, since humans are, since we're baby children, are in school being disciplined constantly by others, like, when have we ever learned to do that for ourselves? You know what I mean? It's so hard.
Right.
And like, I don't know if this is like a thing or not, but I feel like all these like people that have made it, they're like, oh, I like hated school, I dropped out, I was like made horrible grades, and now I'm like this and that. And it's like, were those the people that like knew early on? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
Like, knew how to discipline themselves, or just knew school wasn't for them?
Like, just like, yeah, I mean both, but like they like, I feel like there's something special about people like that, because they like don't buy in to what everybody else is telling them. They like know they have their own path.
Right.
And I think that's special. And I was never like, I was always super disciplined in school and stuff because other people made me be.
I think the thing is that flow, that momentum of discipline that started and conditioning when we were younger, it takes a lot to break out from that.
Right.
So when you try to go with the more free way of thinking, there's a level of resistance there, because that discipline and a structured lifestyle can't exist in a very free-flowing way. Like, you really can't have both. You can try to blend the two the best you can, which I'm trying to do, because obviously I'm still in school and, you have a lot of responsibilities, but they can't really exist in the same world.
Yeah.
It's like creativity, for example. You can't put creativity in a box, because then it's not really creativity. It's playing in like a sandbox, and that's cool for a little bit, but eventually creativity wants to break out that box and show you the whole world, and that free level of thinking is more so like, okay, well, let's do it when we want to do it, or I'm not inspired, I don't want to do it right now. And in the structured way of thinking, it's, what do you mean you're not inspired to do it right now? You need to do it.
You have to always be doing.
Yeah, always. And it's funny because I've started to embrace the more free-flowing aspects of my life more now that I'm like a senior and a junior. But when I was younger, it was just it's got to get done even if I don't like it. And now I'm really more rebellious, and it takes some level of rebelliousness to push back and say, no, this is what I want for myself. And not everybody is willing to do that, and that takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of confidence. It takes a lot of knowing.
Yeah, I think
knowing.
it takes a lot of drive too.
It does, and it also takes discipline. Like, funny enough, it takes discipline to be undisciplined.
I mean, discipline. I've heard discipline equals freedom.
Wow. I've never thought about it that well. I kind of just said that, but I still never thought about it that way.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, like, it makes sense. Like, you have to do like trade-offs. I think you have to be disciplined, and eventually you'll get freedom. I think it's a constant ebb and flow.
That's probably why people say, like, work like crazy during your 20s so you can enjoy your 30s and 40s and 50s and stuff.
Yeah. It's food for thought.
That's definitely food for thought. We've talked a lot about like education and how that factors into the artistic path. Like, what is well, I mean, we kind of talked about that one thing that if you could learn in school, what it would be. I guess let's push it back even further. Let's start at kindergarten and pre-K.
Oh, wow.
Way back, because like I said, it's conditioning. What do you teach a student, or I guess kid, there that they can take with them along their journey that'll help them be a more balanced, level-headed, successful artist?
I mean, to be honest, I don't know the exact answer to what to teach them, but something I feel really passionately about is, like, they're trying to cut recess like shorter and shorter, I swear, and these kids and adults need recess. We need to be outside, and we need to, like, have time to do nothing and to not have to think. And so that, I think breaks and, like, being outside especially, like, is so needed. Like, I don't think we need to be, like, having information compacted in our heads all day long every day. Like, I think that kills creativity and even drive, like, more than anything else.
Sheesh. I agree completely. Because it forces you in your head rather than in your body.
I mean, it's like this. I mean, I just never realized until, like, later in my life, like, the school system is just trying to, like, make human beings machines, really, and like we're not machines. Like we're animals, and we need freedom, like for our heads too. So,
sheesh.
I don't know.
You just like, you got me out of my head, I'll tell you what.
I just feel really passionately about a lot of these topics, and you're asking amazing questions.
That is my job, so.
I mean, you're very good at it.
Thank you. I have a few more questions.
Okay.
You talked about passion just now. And passion, purpose, and creativity. I think a lot of people view art, not necessarily creativity, but art, because I don't believe those two are synonymous.
Right.
People view art as mostly entertainment and just something cool to look at or something cool to hear. What is your perspective on that?
I think there's so many forms of. Are you talking about art, like, or creativity?
I'm talking about just art specifically.
Art specifically. I mean, there's definitely like commercialized art. That's, you know, it's created for the system and all that. And then there's art that people do for other people. And then there's art that somebody does to express themselves. And I have a love-hate relationship with commissions, because, you know, it's not something that I can like fully put my own full say into. But I do like doing them for people. But yeah, I mean, what's the question?
I guess boiling, like, if to be specific, it's more so, what is the value of art in your opinion?
The value of art, like I was saying, there's different categories, but I mean, it's just so magical if you like are so like into this idea you have, and you just make it and you put all of your passion into that. For example, painting, and you're like, oh my god, this painting means so much to me. I love it. I love the way it looks. I love the way it makes me feel. And then if somebody else sees it and they love it and they feel the same way, it's like, what kind of connection could be that? Like, you know what I mean? If somebody can relate to something that like you're in love with, that you were passionate about in the same way, like that's, I don't know, I think that's really beautiful.
It's almost indescribable.
Right.
Like
it's
how
like
people gravitate to like a certain song when they're feeling like a certain way, if they're feeling low or something, and they gravitate towards Kid Cudi, for example. One of my favorite artists, Kid Cudi, for example. I don't know, that's a very powerful thing that I don't think gets enough attention and focus, because I think it's more so we once again we try to blend the two worlds of the creative world and the business world, and you simply just look at value as monetary gain and the numbers versus value, like the value of how it affects someone.
Yeah.
Because you can't really you can't measure that.
No, you can't.
But it's still real, you know, like it's still a real thing.
Yeah, I remember actually watching a Travis Scott documentary, and like something from it just always sticks to me. Like, and I'm sure this, like, a lot of fans say things like this to a lot of, you know, people that they love. But like this one guy was like, Travis Scott literally saved my life. I wouldn't be here today, like, without him and his music. And I was like, that is so bizarre. Like, and he doesn't even, like, Travis Scott doesn't even know that.
Yeah.
Like, like, you know what I mean? It's like, that's what art can do. I don't know.
Art can literally does save lives, though.
Yeah.
Because it makes you feel like you're not alone when someone is expressing something in such a beautiful way that you almost feel comforted by it.
Exactly.
And you find a reason to live because you're basically living through it. Like, you're living through that piece of art.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it like validates like your mindset too. Like if you're struggling or like, I don't know, something along those lines, like it can like validate what you think or how you feel. So.
True. So let's talk about you then. What is, if someone was to look at your art, like all the pieces, what would they learn or know about you just by looking at what you create?
So I don't know, I feel like I have complex like thoughts and ideas, but I guess I'll go into like a little bit of history on like what art I currently am showing. Like I have a pop culture series right now, and that started with me being in my art class in college with my professor, who was very crazy and just wild, and he was like, I want to be wowed and all this stuff. So I had no idea what to do. Like I was struggling so hard with like my artist thing, like what's my thing, I can't think of the word, like
niche.
Yeah, like what's my niche? Like I had no clue what I wanted to like do. And so he was like, I'm gonna be wowed, and like him and I had like a love-hate relationship, not in like a weird way, but like in like a professor way.
Right.
And like I was like, I really want to wow this guy because like, he's just, I don't know. And so I was like, who more to like what's crazier to paint than Donald Trump? I was like, I'm gonna freaking like, yeah, I'm gonna knock his socks off. And so I painted Donald Trump not in a glorification way, in a meme, like, like meme-ish way. And I was so nervous to show it. And when I showed it, I mean, he loved it. And I was like, what? Like, and my whole class loved it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is a crazy feeling. Like, I'm causing like a lot of conversations. Like, a lot of people, like, their faces are like lit up in a crazy way. Like, I was like, I love like the reaction. So I was like, I kind of want to like do like pop art, pop culture, because first of all, I love like colors and pop art. Like that's my favorite kind of art. And then I was like, pop culture is very wowing, if you can like say something about somebody in pop culture, I mean, people are gonna like know about it, people are gonna talk about it. So I really liked that whole idea. And that's a series I want to continue probably for the rest of my life. But I also want to add other series. Like, I'm obsessed with this artist named Amanda Oleander, and she paints she does like little sketches, I think, of like her very personal life. Like she does sketches, like she'll draw like a cartoon version of herself, like plucking a hair off of her nipple, and like she'll draw that, and like just the real stuff. And I really like that idea, and I've always liked, the real parts of people, and hopefully I can come up with a series that's somewhat like that without like copying hers or whatever. But
right, being inspired.
Yeah, so I mean, I like the realness of people, and I want to start a series based on that at some point. But also like pop art and pop culture, and like wowing people, and like making people laugh, and brightening like people's days, like physically and mentally, with my work.
That's a beautiful thing right there.
Thank you.
That's a beautiful thing. And you drew a mean Kanye, I'll say that.
That one might be like my favorite.
Really? That was gonna be my next question.
Yeah, I mean, I really like my Tame Impala one, just because I'm obsessed with Tame Impala. But I think Kanye was like, I don't know, he was a breakthrough for me. And like when I was like, I should paint Kanye, because like Kanye is Kanye, like like I have to paint him. And I don't know why, like the idea for that painting, like as soon as I thought of Kanye, I was like, how can I like meme this up like that was like the first thing that I thought is like to put Jesus and Kim Kardashian on either of his shoulders and have him like be confused on which quote unquote path he wants to choose. Like the angel and devil type thing. So
yes, that yeah, like there's layers to it which I really like, but it's also relevant to really all of our lives. Like the pop culture, pop art element of it is relevant because we all know who Kanye is, and I think it's funny because it almost, like you said, him choosing, you know, the path. Everybody kind of knows Kanye's mental, you know, situation, so it was just interesting to see you incorporate that.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I hope to, you know, keep coming up with some cool ideas, but we'll see.
I definitely think you're fine. Like, what?
I don't know. This is like the doubting mindset. Like, I'm always like, well, you know, I just created this painting, and that's probably going to be the last good one I'll ever do. And like, I don't know why I think like that, but you know, I think a lot of artists struggle thinking that way.
True. Like, that's I don't know. I that was definitely something I had to get out of myself too. And I'm not all the way there. I'm definitely not. Whenever I come up with new ideas, I always question, like, is people gonna look at this? You know, it may be of value, but is it really of value if no one participates or if no one pays attention to it? Does it even matter?
You kind of like you want your art to show the world, but like you want the world to like bounce off your art.
Right.
Like,
it's
for you.
It's almost like I think the saying goes, I don't know why I keep thinking about one hand clapping. That's just weird. But it's like, the thing is, if a tree falls in the woods and there's nobody there to hear it, doesn't make a sound. It's like that. Like if I put my work on the internet or social media and no one sees it, does it exist? Like, is it a real thing? Is it of value?
Right.
Because the actual message of it or the actual content is of value, but if no one digests it, if nobody's open to hearing it, then is it really of value? And then you start thinking, how do I get someone to see it? And maybe you start compromising its innate value just to get people to see it and digest it. So it's a slippery slope.
It is, and that's why it's like, is it important to go viral? Like, you know, like,
right?
Because once, you know, if you do, people are gonna like go back and like they're gonna trust what they saw going viral, and they're gonna be like, this is so good, let me go back. And then it's like, oh, there's so many things here, like, let me see this and listen to this. And then, you know, and that's so hard.
It's hard not to get caught up in that, because a lot of people around you will jump straight for that versus taking what I would call maybe the hard route or the longer route of sticking with your craft through the ups and downs.
Yeah.
Because some people will just shoot straight for okay, well, this is easy, or I seen someone else do it, so let me just replicate it and duplicate it or whatever. But my last question. Go for it. Go for it.
I was just gonna say that's why I think it's super important to just like produce, like whether it's good or bad, because like eventually, I personally believe like if you stick to something and constantly are producing, like eventually somebody's gonna see it. That's just my opinion. Maybe not, but like, I don't know. Anyway.
I'm going to hold you to that statement. For your sake, I'm gonna hold you to that statement.
But it's like you have to put in like a lot of work in order for that to happen.
True, and you have to be committed is the thing, because people lose the commitment to their task because they don't always see the external validation that they're looking for.
Exactly.
That's a big thing. But like I said, you just gotta, like you just said, you just gotta get in the mindset of just creating for the joy of creating versus creating for, you know, like money or whatever type of validation or compensation.
Yeah, that's true.
So my last question to you, and this conversation is actually way longer than I guess it's because I'm in the flow state right now. And
I know, me too. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna like talk to me, and I'm gonna say like one sentence, and then be like, okay.
Nah, it's part of my job to really, like this is me painting a piece, basically, to speak in your language.
You're like creating a beautiful piece right now because you are just such a good interviewer. But okay, your last question.
Thank you. So you talked a little bit about passion. And I mentioned passion a little bit earlier, and purpose and creativity, but I think one of the underrated aspects of creativity and art, more specifically, is it is an avenue or an outlet for people to express themselves. And oftentimes we think about expressing ourselves, and I don't know how people think about expressing themselves. But more specifically, what I'm thinking of in this case is like more of those emotions that we tend to suppress, like severe sadness or severe anger, like those type of emotions, like emotions that society doesn't always, well, quite frankly, they really don't want to see, or they don't encourage, or they really want you to suppress them because there's really no outlet for you to express them, and you never really taught how to express it. So
definitely,
coming back to my question, how important is it for someone who, how do I want to word this question? I'm thinking about basically I want to ask is, what is the importance of expressing those emotions through art?
So this is like, I don't know if I'm the best person to answer this, to be honest, because I mean, I have different outlets for different emotions. Like, if I'm super anxious, I have to exercise hard, and that's how I get it out. If I'm super angry and upset, I have to vigorously write in a journal. And if I'm feeling super happy and confident, that's when I paint. And I know a lot of people, like if they're painters, for example, are like super sad or whatever, they feel amazing when they paint out their feelings. But that's never resonated with me. I have to feel confident and happy to paint.
That's interesting. I mean, I can kind of see that when I look at your work, because a lot of your work is like happy, like it gives me that happy, joyful feeling.
Yeah, I mean, like I can't bring myself to hold a paintbrush if I'm not happy in the moment.
Like you can't do it at all.
I mean, I could, but I will not be enjoying it, and I won't get into the flow state or anything like that. And which, by the way, I love the word flow state. I've never heard that before, but I'm going to call it that forever now. Yeah, I mean, if I'm happy, inspired, and confident, that's when I'm gonna paint. Like, that's just how it is.
Sheesh. I don't know. That's interesting for me, because I think for me, I can write songs where I'm angry, and I can write songs where I'm sad, and obviously the songs that I write when I'm really feeling good, or I would say, are the best ones to write, obviously, but I don't know if it's always my best work.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like, yeah, it sounds like you have different superpowers almost, like, for different states. Like, I almost like envy like people that like if they're really upset, if they're painting or something, if that alleviates it, because it just doesn't for me. Like, it makes me like more angry or sad or something.
Wow. Okay, so I lied. That wasn't the last question.
Okay.
I just thought of another one, but this will be the last question. I don't want to hold you all night.
No. Okay.
So, and I'm struggling with this, so this may just be a question for me, like personally, but how do you make yourself vulnerable with your work? Like, how does vulnerability vulnerability meaning like showing all of yourself or showing all aspects of yourself, both the good and bad, through your work. Like, how does vulnerability and art like mix together?
I feel like I have like two answers in a way to this, because like I mean, I love being vulnerable with people. Like, I feel like I'm oftentimes an oversharer. And that's just me, but I don't know. Like, I like it in that sense, but also, like, kind of touching back on the last question that we were asking, before I decided to paint Trump or whatever to, like, wow my professor or whatever, I was really sick all throughout college, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna make like my little painting series based on me being sick, and I couldn't bring myself to do that because it was so vulnerable and like so tough. And I think like being vulnerable in that way, like almost like if I have like paintings of it, it's like, oh, it's constant reminders. I think that's why I just want to be happy when I paint, so that I can like be reminded of happy things when I look at my stuff. So vulnerability in that way is like, I don't know, maybe that wasn't it, but like I am an oversharer, so that's why like I'm excited for one day to start like a personal series or something. I don't know what I'll call it, but I like, you know, being vulnerable, like with my body, like showing things that can happen to it, or like showing funny things that happen throughout the day, or like weird thoughts you had. Like, I don't know, I like that. So.
I like that. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
So
I don't know when it will happen.
Now you have to do it, because you spoke it.
Yeah.
You spoke it into existence.
I do have to do it. I just want to win, but yeah.
It'll happen for sure, I'm sure.
Thanks.
Well, Jess in the studio, Jessica. I want to thank you for joining me. Thank you for this interview. Thank you for sharing. Is there any way that people can get in contact with you to see your work or to get a commission?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I feel so honored, and you did an amazing interview. Like, I'm so impressed. You are so cool. Serious. But contact with me. You can follow me on Instagram if you want at JessintheStudio. I also have a website, www.JessintheStudio.com. Pretty much, if you just look up Jess in the Studio on several platforms, I'm sure I'll be there. But those are the two main ones.
Perfect.
And you can, DM me or email me or something if you want a painting or a commission. Okay.
Perfect. And I'll also tag you wherever this goes. This is gonna go in multiple spots, so we'll see.
Hey, yeah, let me know. I'm super excited. Thank you.
We'll see. So this is your first interview, like, ever?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, I'm honored then. I'll say I am honored to be your first interview.
Thank you.
Hopefully the best.
So honored. Yeah, I feel like there can't be one better than this if there is another one. So, like, this was super amazing, and I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
I feel like you may be on, like, Jimmy Fallon or something, and you're just like,
okay.
I wish Flynn was up here instead. This would just be so much better.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be like, wait, can we just, like, change hosts for the night? Okay.
Oh, man, when I get my show, like, legit show, you're definitely coming back on.
Yeah, I'll paint something for it. Okay.
Thank you, Jess.
Thank you so much, Flynn.